Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome on to another edition here of the Patriots Touchback Podcast. It's me, your host, Karl. Thank you all for joining us. We are joined tonight by Nick, by Kieran, and of course, our new resident Patreon, Mr. Joe, Country Musical Official. Make sure you check out his Instagram. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing this evening?
It's warm.
It's very warm. The classic In-Betweeners movie quote, isn't it? Might be too hot.
It's hot. It's hot. Yeah, it's hot. It's so hot. I'm having to open my window and not activate my green screen tonight. That's why I'm completely blacked out today. But that's fine. That's fine.
I'm sat in a hotel by Luton Airport, and it's absolutely roasting in there. So
I would say, would you have aircon? But oh no, you're in Luton. They
exactly.
What is it? Peter Kay said. What is it? Peter Kay says we like it warm, but we don't like it this warm.
That's warm. No, we do not. We do not. Thank you all for coming on. It's review time of the training camp so far for what New England have done. A number of practices have been and gone just in shells. The last 2 days, including today, has been about getting into pads, and finally contact football is officially here. Before we get cracking on with it, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, tell all your friends, follow us on all our social media platforms, and follow us on Spotify as well for our latest episodes. Okay, gentlemen, so here we go with training camp. This is what we wanted. We was excited, super excited. We was looking forward to seeing Drake May, see what he's going to do, see what he is capable of. Joe, you're the new guy. We'll start with you. What have you made of Drake May so far? Because it seems like during practice without padding, he seems to be doing really, really well. And then the last 2 days with the padding on, it seems like we've reached rookie tendencies, growing pains, that sort of thing.
Very much. I think like with any rookie quarterback, you're going to have your ups and your downs. He's obviously performed very well in camp without pads. Now the intensity is being stepped up, and I think you're going to start seeing, especially the defense, really starting to put the pressure on and play an NFL defense as opposed to college. So I'm not overly concerned at the moment. It's again, training camp is training camp. If you're going to make mistakes, the best time to iron them out is now and get things ready for the season. Will he be started day one? Time will tell. I think there's going to be teaming in with any rookie quarterback. I think he's got someone like Jacoby Brissett there, who's probably the best person to be behind at the moment. He knows his role, Jacoby. He knows he's a transition quarterback for us. So I think he's willing to offer that helping hand out to Drake where and when he's going to need it.
No, I do agree with you. There were some really nice throws that he had during the first few days of practice. One of them was obviously one over the top to Judon Baker, who seems to be breaking out as the WR1, although that's not really confirmed as such, but it looks like he's been performing well. So too is Jalen Polk as well. He seems to be that overall receiver that we've been kind of needing for so long.
Judon Baker's my guy. I'm a UCF fan, so I've seen this guy play for last year, and he's unbelievable. He's got all the traits you need to be a number one receiver in the NFL. And I think I put a tweet up the other day saying to bookmark it that within the next 3 seasons he's going to be the top 3 wide receivers in the league, and I stand by that point. The guy is just going to be unbelievable once he gets up to speed at the NFL level.
I think so too. Nick, what about you? What have you made of Drake May so far?
As we know, I'm a massive Drake May fan. Never doubted it. Pulled that off. What I would say is he has teething problems, and I noticed DJ's just making some comments there. Jacoby Brissett was on with Kay Adams yesterday morning, I think, or this morning, I'm not sure. And he was saying that he expects to start. And for as long as he's at the Patriots, he expects to be the starter. Now, I think he signed a 2-year deal. I don't know whether that will be the case next year. I think chances are if he survives the entire year, which I doubt, then it will be Drake May next year. But I think Drake May will start at some point earlier in this year. I think Brissett showing his experience, he's showing his. But Drake May is having his moments where he's doing the right things occasionally, but then he's doing the wrong things. He's throwing into coverage. He sees an opening which at college level would be an opening for long enough, but at the pro level it just gets shut down quickly. And by the time he's throwing it, it's already closed and it's a giveaway. So I think Drake May is moving along as we would expect, but he's far from good enough at the moment. He's
definitely not the polished article. Not quite yet. Kieran, what say you? What have you seen from Drake May so far that you've been impressed with or not impressed with?
Well, the potential is there. I think that's one thing for certain. I mean, you can see the arm talent is undeniable, and though there are these moments where you kind of grit your teeth a little bit, that's, as we've said, that's to be expected with a rookie QB, and not just any rookie QB as well. But you're thinking about a 21-year-old who was a redshirt sophomore who played in a very collegiate system at North Carolina. It's one of the hardest offenses to transition from into the NFL. And there are going to be times where he's going to struggle to adapt, but he needs time. But there have been some good moments too. And I think, some of the videos they're putting out, that might be a little bit of, I don't want to call it propaganda, but it might be a little bit of excitement building. Like, look what our new freshman then. Look what our new rookie quarterback can do. I think that the talent is unquestionable, and he is the most talented QB in the room. But it is showing that he's not ready just yet. And Jacoby Brissett will start week 1. I think we pretty much confirmed that last week in terms of our opinions. And Drake's going to take some time to season, but I think once he has and once he's ready to go, I think we've got a really good player on our hands. But we've got to just stick with it and stick with the process for now, and because we don't want to be bashing him for every mistake he makes in training camp, because ultimately that's what training camp is for. And we've still got to remain optimistic that this is our new franchise QB.
Yeah, we do need to be optimistic, and we also need to keep an eye on him as well. For me, I think, Drake May has shown glimpses of what made him very good in North Carolina and back in college. But it just seems like when he put the pads on, bearing this in mind, okay, he was with the second string team. He wasn't with the first team. So he wasn't with the first lot of O-line. He wasn't with the first lot of receivers. He was with the second lot of O-line, which couldn't block a tumbleweed. So he's having to run for his life and quickly think on the fly immediately to get the ball out. And there have been times where he's not been able to do that. He's had to throw it in the dirt. He's had to run a lot. He's had to scramble to get out of the way as well. Doesn't help when the second string receivers as well can't get open. That's what you're working with. I think if you put Drake May behind the O-line that was currently in place with Jacoby Brissett, with the first lot of receivers, that's probably Baker, Polk, and I will probably say KJ Osborne for the time being. I actually think Drake May might actually have done a lot better. But because he's working with a second string team, that's probably the second string team he's going to end up playing in with preseason. I don't think we're going to see Drake May play with the first stringers in preseason. I just don't see that happening. Does anybody believe that?
I don't know. I think they'll give him a shot with the first team. I think he needs them reps with them in a live game situation. So perhaps, like you say, it's usually the second or third preseason game where the starters usually play the first 2 or 3 drives. I wouldn't be surprised to see Drake May in there with them, especially if we are going in with Brissett as starting QB. Are we with his backgrounds of injury history, is that really what we're going to want to do? Chuck them out there pre-season in a meaningless game against whoever to take a hit or something like that? I definitely think he'll get the reps behind them, and I think there's nothing better than live game situation practice. It's all right going up against it in training, but again, I still think that game experience of being out there on the field will really benefit him, and I think that's where we'll start to see what type of quarterback we've got, all the while remembering that he is a rookie and that he is going to make mistakes. It's just rookie tendencies. It's very rare you're going to get a rookie quarterback who comes into the league and absolutely lights it up without making any mistakes at all. So
I'm not sure who it was, but I heard a great point the other day that someone made about last season. And go back to last pre-season, we played Houston, and CJ Stroud looked like a rabbit in the headlights against us. We picked him off early, and he didn't look good. But then transitioning into the season, and phenomenal. What a player! Like, looks like they've nailed their selection at QB. So sometimes just because there's a couple of wobbles every now and then, it doesn't mean it's going to be a long-term thing. So yes, Drake May's having one or two issues right now, but that doesn't mean to say that when he eventually sees the field, he's going to be bad. Like, he genuinely could be good. Like, we just don't know. And I think Joe's made a good point about that. You can't replicate that real game situation on a practice field. So until he gets in there, I think it's going to be hard to really judge him. But yeah, I think, at the moment, there's enough still there to be optimistic about, and we've got to allow him to make mistakes. I think that's important. Not doghouse him for every bad throw he makes.
I think all of us as fans need to take a step back and calm down, because we've been traumatized the last couple of years with Mac Jones, where he's gone from a rookie season to the just absolute downfall. And I think it's like when you break up with your ex-girlfriend, you go into a new relationship, you're worried about getting hurt again. It takes a while for maybe that trust to come back. And for me, I think it's just about taking that step back, looking at the bigger picture, and remembering that he is a rookie, and it's a completely different coaching staff as well now, almost, especially on the offense. And I think that's we need to look at that as well, and just I think everyone needs to calm down. Practices are practices. Let's judge the guy when he's out there on the field, when he's getting the first team reps, when he's out there with the starters in the season, which I'm sure will happen at some point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely agree. DJ has put a little quote here. I want to see Drake May pop. I want to see Drake May do something out there that makes you say, that's why you drafted him third overall. That is the future. He's really challenging Brissett. I agree. He is challenging Brissett a fair bit, but it'll all come down to how he gets in padding sessions, and it hasn't really.
Go on, sorry, Karl.
And he hasn't. He has sort of done well, but he's also, as we said, it's teething pains for a rookie quarterback. Even Caleb Williams is struggling. So,
I mean, look, there's been a couple of
time.
There's been a couple of, like, we spoke about it already. There's been a couple of big time throws that have gone out on social media that he's dropped in the bucket, 40, 50 yards, tight window. Really good coverage, like the one to Keishon Booty. We've seen about the one to Javon Baker. Like, there has been glimpses of that. Like, that makes you go, yeah, this is why we took this player. I know DJ's referencing you want to see that in a game situation when there's things on the line, but there's already an indication that is in him. And once those shackles are off and he feels comfortable on the offense, he'll start to do that a lot more. I mean, how often did you see Mac Jones throw the ball down the field in training camp? Whereas Drake May seems to want to unload it whenever he can. And we've seen some great throws already. Yes, there's been some bad ones and some bad decisions, but you can't argue with the product that's been out there that he's shown you can make these throws.
Yeah, he definitely can.
I think, if I just may, I don't think it helps that obviously it's an entire new system, and he's following on from effectively a rookie that failed. And we've gone from like this absolute great, amazing amazing QB that's dominated the landscape and has became the greatest to have ever played, you're going to have a fall off. You're going to struggle to, this is not, it's hard enough to go from one good QB to another. I mean, how Green Bay about to go from 2 to 3 is beyond me. But, they don't know anything else. I think everyone has nightmares about what Mac Jones produced. I think I'd be very worried about Drake May in last year's setup than this year's. I think that's a lot better for him. And I think the thing to do is to remember, yes, he's a third rounder, but we are not the Patriots of 10 years ago. We are not in a place where there's a reason we picked third. We have to remember that it is baby steps right now, and a rebuild takes time. I looked watching the off-season Hard Knocks with the Giants. They last Tuesday's episode, after we recorded, went out in the US, and they were talking to the Patriots on draft night, and they were trying to get up to third to draft Drake May. And they were offering, they were saying that they'd give us a 1 and a 2. And yet the Patriots were turning around and saying, well, no, we want 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 3. And it's like, well, I don't think we were ever going to get 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 3. But that's what you asked. You asked for the house, basically. And so we obviously decided he was the guy. And you've just got to have faith in the guys that know what they're doing. The coaches, the scouts, the front office. They're the guys that are there every day. They're the guys that make the decisions. We're just the guys that, shout and scream about it.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it was that, we were wise to stick at number 3 because this is our QB of the future, regardless if he is performing at a high level or he isn't. But at the end of the day, he's with us now, and it will take time. You've got to bed him in very, very slowly. And if he's not ready to start, don't start him. That's one of the problems that many franchises always have an issue. When they get a fancy new quarterback, they're thinking, yes, he's ready to start. Within the first 2 games, he literally gets blown up. Don't want to see that happen to Drake. Don't want to see that happen to Drake May.
Look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love didn't play a game for 2 years. Or if he did, he played 1.
I remember watching his first game. He was like a rabbit in headlights. I think it was a Sunday night game. I'm sure it was, and he was
Kansas City, wasn't it?
I think it might have been. Yeah, he was away, and he just because I think Rodgers was either injured again or I don't know, COVID maybe.
I think it's COVID.
Yeah, and he just completely bombed, and you just thought when you're watching that, like, what have they done? What have they picked? And now look,
I just think that we have to remember where we are in this rebuilding phase. It is not a quick fix. If he has to sit all year, that's the whole point of why we've got Jacoby Brissett. That's the whole point of having him. Someone who's experienced, somebody that knows how to play the game, somebody who's played in that system before. That's the whole point of having him. Don't rush the guy who's just come in expecting the world from him. That's how you burn him out quickly.
Absolutely. So the notes I've got for today regarding of the training camp for today, which is the second day of pads. So this is what we got. There was a number of absentees. Matthew Judon was not in the facility. Jabril Preppers, he was late. He had a left leg sleeve on. Marty Mapu, no pads, but he had his helmet on. David Andrews, we already know. Jaheim Bell, late, no pads. And obviously Christian Barmore, which we'll get into later on. Also on the pup list, you got Kendrick Bourne. He was present, but no pads on. Taki.
He was on the conditioning field. He was on the conditioning field. He was stretching. He's expected to remain on PUP probably for the entirety of camp and pre-season. Whether he makes it into the roster or whether he stays on PUP depends on how he sort of reacts over the next few weeks. But he is on the field. He's on the conditioning field. He does the warm-ups with the team, and then he goes off and does his own conditioning work.
Yep. Jake Andrews and Cole Strange as well. They're on the pup list, but they were present today. In the red non-contact jerseys, you had Demario Douglas and Sean Wade. The quarterbacks, they were 8 for 8 at the throwing net, which is fantastic for all of them, which also resulted in Joe Milton doing a backflip. Anybody seen him do a backflip recently? The guy's like the guy's like 270, and he can do that's ridiculous athleticism he's got there. Also, Joe Milton's actually been performing quite decently as well. Maybe push him to be the third stringer and kick Zappy out. Maybe
I think he's probably won the third stringer, going by what's happened so far at training camp. Yeah, I don't think there's any reason that I can think of why you would keep someone like Zappy over him.
And you could probably get Zappy back on the practice squad if you wanted. I'm not sure he's going to get playing.
No one's going to steal him, no.
So, yeah, like you carry your 3 going into the season, and if you want to add an experienced number 4 just to sit and be the 4th QB in practice and be on the practice squad if you need him, then you can. But, yeah, I think Joe Milton's ahead now. Just even though we said that he's got all the athletic traits in the world and the cannon of an arm, but he can't play the position properly in terms of how he dissects a defense and reads coverages and things like that. But like he's got upside based on his physicality alone, and I'd rather have that than someone who's very vanilla like Bailey Zappi.
If Bailey Zappi can do a backflip, I'll be more impressed.
I think Zappi's attitude has cost him as well, because the last sort of few days he's been very glum, very sort of shoulders down, not really, he's in it, he's there and sort of participating, but his heart, I don't think his heart's in it. I think he knows the writing's on the wall sort of thing, and I think that's showing in his performance. So, I don't expect him to beat Milton out to number 3. So what I would do, like we just said, I would expect to pick 3, which would be Brissett, May, and Milton, and then you bring Zappy back as on the practice squad, because you're going to want that 4th QB on the practice squad.
Yeah, you are going to. So moving on today. So wide receivers against defensive backs, 1-on-1s. Hang on, I've just lost my bookmarks. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. So May dropped it in the bucket to KJ Osborne on a go route with Jonathan Jones in coverage. May to Polk on an out route. Jalen Rager did a good job tracking a deep ball down the sideline from Bailey Zappi with Mickey Victor in coverage. Who the hell's Mickey Victor? I've never heard of him. Rager caught beat Austin on a slant. Keyshawn Butte had an impressive catch near the sideline on a deep ball from Jacoby Brissett. Butte has been quietly going about his business. I've been very impressed with what Butte has been doing recently, but has he done enough to try and get himself into a roster spot?
Practice.
I mean, he's still got to continue this, but like I've been harping on about him ever since I joined this podcast. I mean, we spoke about him quite a lot last week, and I just think the upside is just way too good to ignore. And what concerns me as well is that if we waive him to try and get him on the practice squad, someone's going to snipe him, like 100%. A player of that ability is not going to clear waivers and make it onto a practice squad. It's just not going to happen, because there are some teams in the league who are absolutely like dead at receiver, like we were a few months ago, that would quite happily take a shot on him. So yeah, like he's had a really good spring. He started training camp pretty well. He's had a couple of days where he's been a little bit quiet, but he's still showing this side to him that he's got talent. He's made some great snags. He's been really good against press coverage. He seems to have that toughness about him. And now that he's got all that kind of legal stuff off his back and he seems focused, I think you just got to let him keep balling. And the pre-season could be massive for him because last year he was impressive in training camp, but that game against Green Bay where he took like a 60-yard touchdown to the house, I think that got him onto the roster. So if he has another couple of good games in pre-season, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't make the 53.
It sounds silly, but Butte just reminds me of, it's going to sound really daft, but N'Keal Harry, but with the actual talent that we all thought N'Keal Harry had.
Do not say him.
The talent we were expecting of N'Keal Harry, not what we got.
Not yet. All I want to see in the regular season is a commentator. I can't remember who the real over the top one is. Not one of the main ones you see on Fox or CBS or ESPN, but one of the the one we're on about. I just want to see him get. I want to see him get a pass from Drake May, and he goes, "You can kiss Keyshawn, kiss my booty goodbye." That's all I want. That's all I want.
Do you reckon he's taking bets on whether he make the 53 or not?
Oh, come on!
But that was too easy.
Come on. That was
One thing I will say, in Keyshawn Booty and in Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, we've got some arrogance, we've got some confidence, and we've got some swagger. When was the last time we had that in the receiver room? Like, we've had even like when we had Edelman and Amendola, like who were great, reliable players, there was never this like absolute dog mentality, and we've not had that for a long time. So to have three guys that are just like, I'm better than you, I'm going to blaze you, I'm catching this ball. Like, I quite like the fact we've got three young receivers that are just keen to stick it to someone, get in someone's face and be like, no, this is my time. Like, I'm liking this arrogance that we've got at receiver at the moment.
I'm loving Cole's background now with Javon Baker and his UCF one.
Yeah,
go Knights. Go Knights.
It's getting pitch black. It's getting pitch black in here. It really, really is. It's getting stupid now. Right. So going back to the one-on-ones. So, where were we? Yep. So, Keyshawn Booty we spoke about. Tyquan Thornton smoked Marco Wilson on an in route. Marcellus Dial, the rookie, smothered Juju. We will get into him later on. Gonzo had such tight coverage on KJ Osborne that Brissett refused to throw the ball. That's what you have. You got a lockdown corner. And this is a surprising one. Javon Baker was relatively open, but missed by the quarterbacks. Maybe so. Obviously, Brissett wasn't looking where Javon Baker was. Okay. So in O-line versus D-line one-on-ones, my brother, Keon White, finished 2 for 2, beating Mike Onwenu and Antonio Maffey. This guy is I reckon I can see a breakout from this guy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Keon White is going to be a monster.
He's an animal. He's an animal.
It's an absolute animal. Caden Wallace flashed with a big win, but mostly struggled, getting beat multiple times. Well, you're playing left tackle, so what do you expect? Layden Robinson had a big win, but rough session for Tyrone Wheatley Jr. On 11 on 11s, this was the initial period. May was 2 for 2. Brissett was 1 for 3. Brissett threw behind Hunter Henry on a cross route, allowing for Josh Bledsoe to recover for a near interception. I think we've all seen the video footage of Juju Smith-Schuster once again dropping it like it's hot. Because he did have another bad drop today. Kevin Harris broke through an open gap on the left side. The running game was a lot better. So Ramondre Stevenson found an open hole on the right. May hit Will Cox for a big play in the flat on an impressive bootleg / PA fake. And good run game under the starters, but fizzled out under the backups. So as it currently states right now, the starters would end up being Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. So it seems like that's a So it seems like if the running game is finding holes, good, because that's what we've been needing. We didn't really have the running game, did we, last year? I mean, Stevenson got to just use his muscle and find holes anyway. But yeah.
Just a point on Layden Robinson in the one-on-ones, I think it was just 2 days ago, actually, about how he had 3 really impressive reps where he punched back Dietrich Wise and had a couple of really nice blocks on starting players. And I mean, I wasn't a massive fan of the pick going back to the draft. Like, I didn't think at the time we really needed it. But, I mean, we've seen a lot of rotation on the offensive line. There's a lot of uncertainty at tackle. And if Layden Robinson turns out to be capable enough to start going into week 1, then it gives you the capability to then put Onwenu back at tackle. And at least you've solidified one side of your line. And then obviously there'll be the question of the left tackle spot. But hopefully there's something there, because I've always believed you can get guards of starting caliber in the middle rounds. But hopefully he's one that could potentially develop well.
Yeah. So going back, Bledsoe recovered and broke up a ball to Austin Hooper. Keon White terrorized the run game, blowing up a run play with Gibson as the back. Josh Uche got a sack. May overthrew Osborne on a wide open fade. May offense rehuddled on Coach Mayo's call, which was basically a procedural issue. Joe Milton was the third QB up. Milton hit Polk and Juju for touchdowns. So from what I'm gathering out there, it seems like Milton's had the best day out of the two QBs, really. In all intents and purposes. In the second red zone period, O'Shane Eximins continues to shine, making impactful plays consistently. Offense took a lap, staff included, after a Jalen Polk illegal substitution. Brissett and Mayo not happy. Yep, neither would we either. Brissett connected with Osborne on a diving crosser. Mark Wilson was a pass breakup on a quick route from Javon Baker through from May. Marco Wilson recovered a Kelvin Harris fumble. May hit Javon Baker on a crosser after a poor snap from Maffey. Bear in mind, okay, so David Andrews weren't on the field. Be a center. So that's a bit concerning, to say the least. Sean Wade pass breakup on a high point throw from May to Baker. Juju walked off the field with a training staff member. Left leg, possibly. Apparently, there was a bit of a tweak on his left leg. The offense, they did push-ups after the Wade pass breakups. That was punishment. Terrell Jennings has a big gain on an outside run. A very poor session for the first and second offense. Second offense was dreadful due to a mix of bad wide receiver separation and very poor O-line play. So there's a mixed bag from what it was from yesterday's first padding session. What's your biggest, Nick, we'll start with you. What's your biggest takeaway from all of that? What have just brought out from today's practice?
Well, both, if I include yesterday as well, Okafor play has been consistent both days. He spent the majority of his time at right tackle these last few days. So he's been consistent. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not looking for absolutely spectacular once in a blue moon. Effectively what you want is players to be consistent throughout the day, throughout 2 days, and slowly build up to the point that you are seeing regular good performances. Now, he spent yesterday and today at right tackle. So he wasn't, whereas last week when he was in Shells, he was spending some time at left tackle. So he seems to be performing better at right tackle. I like the fact that Gibson was taking part today. He's off NFI. He's back, as is running back Jennings. He's been activated as well. So there's a few players that have come back just at the right time. You don't want them missing loads of camp. So I think that's good to see. And new signing Bronson was getting involved today as well. He didn't do much, but he at least got involved a little bit. He was signed yesterday, I assume, to cover for Barmore and his injury. It meant we had to cut one of our corners, but yeah. So all in all, I'm just liking the progress. I'm not expecting the world, but I just want to see good progress from everybody. And I think really that's what we're moving towards. Apart from Juju, who needs to be taken out and shot, like you do with a horse that's no good. Just take him out into the pasture and shoot him.
Great minds think alike, Nick. I was about to say the exact same. It's actually painful to watch the decline of Juju now. He
wouldn't be one of my 6.
No, he wouldn't be one of 10 at this stage. He's just I don't know what's happened to Juju. Injuries have caught up with him. I just don't think he can perform at the level that we need him to, and especially in a team that, like I say, we picked third for a reason. And I think we need to look at the rebuild. Is that really a player that you can afford to carry regardless of name? For me, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I think it's got to the point now where you just have to absorb that dead cap hit. He's not going to make the 53. You're not going to get anything for him in a trade, I wouldn't have thought, unless it's swapping a 7th for another 7th. I don't think you're really going to get anything. It is sad in a way because, when he first came in at the Steelers, he was relatively good. But the knee injuries have killed him. And similar to, I'm not going to compare them in terms of their overall ability, but similar to Todd Gurley in a way, how his career just come to a crashing halt so quickly. We were talking that was one of the best running backs in the game that was destined for the Hall of Fame. And then suddenly, he's gone. That's it. And it feels like Juju's career has been sort of coming to an abrupt end. It's going to come to a point where I'm sure he's going to want to keep playing, but you got to be honest with yourself. And if you can't move anymore and you can't catch anything, what even is your purpose now? So I don't want to be too harsh on the guy because I'm sure he's trying, but yeah, he ain't going to make this team. And we've got other receivers that are way more talented and going to contribute way more.
Yeah, there definitely will be. Juju needs. I know the cap hit is not great for us, but at the same time, you're not performing. You've had 2 bad drops, and there was one. I think it was yesterday. Drake May threw an absolute bomb in the air to Judas Smith-Schuster. It literally landed right in the breadbasket. You couldn't get a more cleaner throw with a cleaner catch if you could try. Juju let the ball slip through his hands. I saw that throw and I'm like, get this guy out. Get him out. If you can't, that's a simple. And the corner was all over him, but it was still at the separation. And I just don't understand how he didn't come down with that ball. He missed again today. It's a bit concerned to say the least. But as I said, his cap hit might be a little bit too much for us to probably take. But what would you rather do? Take the cap hit or have a receiver on our roster that's just going to keep making mistakes?
And he's not going to want to sit there and be the wide receiver 6, is he? That's the thing. He's probably in a way got some kind of ego in a sense that he probably feels like he should be playing. So he's not going to want to be buried on the depth chart and not getting any snaps. So for the benefit of both the player and the team, I think you've just got to cut your losses and just release him.
Agreed. No, absolutely agreed. Kieran, what's been your standout on training camp so far?
I would say the standout for me has probably been we've actually got some receivers to be excited about for once. Now, I don't want to get too carried away. We haven't got CeeDee Lamb. We haven't got Justin Jefferson. There are still relative unknowns at the moment. But considering what we've had to endure at wide receiver over the last few years, we've finally got some players that you think there might be something there. You got Polk, who seems like he's going to be Mr. Reliable and can do a bit of everything. He's going to probably get the most probably lead the team in receptions, I would think, this season. You've got Javon Baker, who's going to be the X factor in the offense, I think. With his skill set, the fact that he's big, he's fast, he's strong, he's your vertical threat this year. And I think he's going to have a couple of big, long touchdowns this year. Just to get off the ground. And then we spoke about Booty as well. So you've got about those 3. Demario Douglas, we already know, is a hit in the league after last year. So you've got 4 receivers there that can get you excited about what the future holds for them. They're all young. And then you've got 2 guys as well. Like we know Bourne's a good player, so that's good once he comes off pup. And then Osborne we know can do a job. So like genuinely we're in a really good place as things stand with the receivers. Now they could completely bomb, but the way things are going, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we might just have something. And whilst they might not be the elite receivers, they're certainly going to be an upgrade on what we've had. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how they get on once the season starts. Because, we certainly need some weapons.
I haven't been this excited since we drafted Terry Glenn at receiver. It's been a long time. It's been a very, very long time. I think Keon White has been absolutely outstanding. I think he's going to break out this year, and he's going to cause some offensive lines to really reconfigure and stick them upside down, because this guy's just going to wreck everybody in his sight. I do agree with you, Kieran. I think the receivers that we do actually have some. The future looks bright when it comes to our receivers. I know I've only seen them in training camp so far. We need to see them in proper game action, i.e. like pre-season, and obviously with the regular season as well. But for the time being, let's have this little morsel of hope that we've got 2 receivers that can actually get open and that can make really good catches and move the offense and move the chains, because that's something we just sucked at last year massively.
With Bourne on pup potentially going into the season, just a quick one on the course. As Nick said earlier, like, we don't know whether Bourne's going to take any part in training camp, whether he's going to be ready for week 1. If he opens the regular season on pup, it is not inconceivable that we go into the first game against the Bengals with Jalen Polk on one side, Javon Baker on the other, and Demario Douglas in the slot. I mean, it's young, but like, what would be the harm in that? That would be good fun. Like, let them go out there and play and prove themselves.
It'll give the Bengals secondary something to think about, because their secondary is not as good as what it used to be, not without Jesse Bates. So
talking to secondary as well for us, how great is it to see Christian Gonzalez back out there and Marcus Jones and
Javon Baker's had him on skates. Javon Baker's had him on skates. We're talking about Christian Gonzalez, who in week 2 of last season literally blanketed Tyreek Hill for 1 catch for like 17 yards and an interception. Yet he can't keep an eye on a fourth round receiver from UCF. I mean, come on.
Training camps are strange places, aren't they? So, I mean, I think for me, Christian Gonzalez has got the potential to be comeback player of the year this year.
Absolutely.
I genuinely believe like he's going to be top tier cornerback in the NFL. And obviously as well, getting Jabril Peppers to sign a new deal as well. I think it's huge news for our defense.
3-year deal, $24 million, could go up to 30 if incentives are met. Not quite sure what he means by incentive, as in maybe, I don't know, more than 3 interceptions, or the Patriots make the playoffs. I don't know what the incentives is.
How many times he can break up the plays like they've done to Devontae Adams last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well done to Jabril Peppers. I mean, everyone obviously knows the one highlight reel of Jabril Peppers where he completely and absolutely mauls a Raider receiver. Bye-bye. Out goes the ball.
Not just any Raiders receiver either. One of the best receivers in the league. So Devontae Adams is like.
Devontae Adams as well. Yeah,
Devontae Adams. So it's nice. That's an impressive play.
But talking of contracts, we do need to move into more a sorrow conversation. We'll go with Judon in a minute, but we'll first talk about obviously Christian Barmore. What has escalated is absolutely devastating for him. He has been signed off with blood clots, which is something you can't really mess with at all. So there was a tweet by an MD called Dr. Jesse Moore. I'm just going to read this out for you guys, okay? His tweet has put this: well, this is very concerning for Patriots Christian Barmore. There is huge risk of the blood clot traveling to the lungs, in brackets, pulmonary embolism, heart attack or brain stroke without the use of blood thinners. Barmore was just diagnosed with blood clots, which means he has to be placed on blood thinners for at least 3 months, usually, sometimes up to 6 months. And some people are on them indefinitely. Players are not allowed to play while they are on blood thinners, as the risk of bleeding is astronomical. There is a good chance Barmore misses at least all of August, September, and October, and this could potentially end his season. Huge loss for the Patriots. Unfortunate situation. So from the way it does look like it's the same problem that what David Andrews had back in 2019. He also had blood clots. I think it was before training camp, and he didn't play a single snap all season. So this pretty much is, we won't see Christian Barmore play this season, which is an absolute damn shame, because he was one of the more focal points of our defense last year. And that's going to be a big, big gap to fill, whoever's going to step up in that position.
I think it's fair to say, as much as we'd all love Barmore to get out, I think we all got just send the thoughts and prayers to him. Hopefully it gets sorted and he's healthy. And at the end of the day, your health always comes first. And let's just hope that he can come back from it. And yeah, if he's out for the season, he's out for the season. It's going to be a damn shame, like you say, not to see him on the field. But let's get the guy healthy. I think that's the most important thing right now.
Yeah, it's
Nick?
one of them where, like, sorry, go on, Nick.
No, it's all right. Yeah, I mean, there is no timetable on his return. It's unfortunate. He had a great year last year. We sat here some weeks ago before we went on a break, and we said about how, we were really looking forward to seeing him next year, and how he could break on and move on and probably be one of the stars of the team. It's unfortunate. Your health comes first, obviously. So, I think I'm quite interested as to, I know what you say there, Karl, about he's done for the season. They haven't actually officially moved him to IR yet. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to, but if he was out for the season pretty much indefinitely, you would move him to IR pretty quickly to allow you to sign somebody else. But there is he hasn't been moved to IR yet. And they've already, like I said earlier, they've had to cut a corner to bring in a tackle just to back him up. Now, they could have just put him straight on IR, and that would have freed up the space to sign the tackle. So they're not even putting him on IR yet. So there's obviously a reason why, but, I don't know. He seems to be in good spirits, and, hopefully there is no long-lasting damage.
No, hopefully not. But you have to be so precautionate with this. This is not something you can't mess with at all. I mean, it's all right saying that he has been moved to IR, but that just makes me slightly worried, because when David Andrews got diagnosed, he immediately got put on IR and said, no.
And that's my point. That's my point. You had one player who had the same condition, was immediately moved to IR and missed the whole year. Whereas you've got this other player who hasn't been moved to IR. They've had to cut somebody else to sign cover, and yet there's no sort of movement 2 days later. So I'm not trying to read between the lines. I'm just saying that to me, it's interesting that he hasn't gone straight on IR. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
No. I understand. I just think that, don't risk a player's health for one season where it could actually jeopardize his career. That's basically all I'm saying in regards of this. But look, listen, we wish Christian Barmore all the best. If he does end up playing again this season, great. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. We're not a playoff team. We're rebuilding for the future. Just take your time, get healthy, and come back soon, sir. You're an absolute stellar defensive tackle. We need you back, but your health is number one in this circumstance. Right, moving on to another some bit of news: the contract situation with Matt Judon. So yesterday got a little bit intense, didn't it? Judon and Gerard Mayo having a little bit of a conversation / altercation during the first session of pad practice, and it does seem like things were kicking off. And I'll make this perfectly honest with you right now. Despite Bill Belichick being an absolute tight-fisted old man, he was very, very good at keeping any simmering tensions in-house and keeping it locked up. He was very good at doing that. This is Gerard Mayo's first test of what he's like dealing with a player that's sort of trying to get his own way or being very, very rambunctious, shall we say. The one thing you do not do when you see an argument like that, you allow the media to get hold of it. Boston media will have a field day on it, and they literally did, because they didn't think that Gerard Mayo is going to be the guy that can actually help Matt Judon. But according to what I've heard from today, according to Phil Perry, he has basically said apparently there was some talk between Judon and Mayo today. It was a lot more calmer, a lot more settled. There is talk about a deal could possibly be being done, which then adds the question, which DJ, I've just started for you, DJ. Can White take Judon's role? Is this why we are holding out on paying Judon? You mean Judon, you mean? You've also just put Goujon. Anyway, who wants to take that question?
Yeah, I think
I don't think you can.
No,
sorry.
No, I mean, I put a comment in our chat the other day about the contract situation. Is Judon's coming off a big injury for a player over 30 in the position he plays. Do you really want? And I love Matt Judon. I think he's phenomenal. I think when he's fit, he's one of the best in the league at that position. However, if you look at the history of players with the type of injury he's had and coming back from it, there's always been a decline. Going into a contract year, do you really want to take that chance and pay him all that money without having the insurance of finding out, is this the same Matt Judon from 2 seasons ago? That's the biggest question for me. And I think the other thing you need to look at as well is I think Judon could be a prime for me, depending on how the season goes. If it goes how most of us probably expect it to go, could Judon be a piece that you can move towards the trade deadline to get some extra picks going into next year's draft? It's difficult. If it's a deal that suits both parties, I think you give Judon the money. If Judon's asking for, and I don't know what he's asking for. I haven't seen it. It seems from all the interviews I've seen with him, he wants to get a deal done with the Patriots. Is that replicated from the front office? Remains to be seen. And I think the main concerns for me, and I'll probably say for the front office, are the concerns that we brought up regarding the injury, and is this going to be the same Matt Judon that we had previously?
That's true, but in his last 38 games, he's had 32 sacks.
Yeah,
He's not exactly been hitting any like bad patches or having any purple. He's had a very consistent line of it. Maybe a sack a game, but he's still been a very consistent sack leader, and that does help.
But the concern is the injury. And that's the concern. Is this going to be the same Matt Judon coming back? Is he going to have the same explosiveness, same strength and power and get off? That's the biggest question mark there. There's no doubt, like I say, I'm one of the biggest Matt Judon fans.
Round table, would you pay him?
If it was a deal that suited both parties, yes. If it was the higher end, probably not until we've seen what we've got from Matt Judon.
Nick?
If it goes the first 4 games and he tears it up like he has been, then I think you give him the money. But I'm a bit up in the air with it.
I would pay him, because from everything that I've read, it's not about wanting a pay increase or anything like that. It's wanting guaranteed money. It's wanting to be secure. Now, Godchaux's the same thing. he's not necessarily looking for loads and loads of extra money. He just wants some guaranteed money. And I think what the Patriots are trying to do is get out of training camp and then put the contracts in place. So they're penny pinching essentially, that if an injury happens in training camp, they cover themselves. But as soon as training camp's over, they want to get these contracts done. I think that's probably what's on the horizon. Me personally, I would give both players the contract. They're not asking for loads; they're just asking for guaranteed money. So give it them.
Kez?
Yeah, I would. But I think he needs to understand as well that he isn't going to get mega money elsewhere, I don't think. I think Joe's made a good point. He's a player over 30. He's coming off a big injury. Yes, his production has been superb over the last 3 years, but I don't think any roster or any team are going to pay through the roof for him. Now, if it is a case of guaranteed money, I'm sure that deal can get done. We've got plenty of cap space left. And ultimately, we need to, as much as we're in a rebuild and we want younger players, we need to retain the best talent on our roster. And Judon is one of our top players. We need to keep hold of him. He then enables the other pass rushers to get home because other teams are accounting for him. So, yeah, for me, I think a 2-year deal on a deal that works for both parties, where it's not too extreme. Maybe, you give him a good amount of money, but you guarantee most of it rather than, paying a substantial contract over time. So, yeah, I would. And just on Godshaw, I mean, surely the Barmore situation has kind of played into his hands a little bit. As harsh as it sounds, he's probably thinking, well, now's even more reason for you to sign me because you're going to need me more than ever. So that's one factor that I think could play out in his favour too.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, I think you try and keep intact the defense as much as you can from last year because, okay, we lost 13 games last year, but defense pretty much done what they were supposed to do. As we basically said 8 of the 13 games that we lost, it was all of them were by 1 score or less. Defense done its job. The offense did jack. So keep your defense as it is. If we re-sign Judon, great. If we re-sign Godchu or give him guaranteed money, great, fantastic. You've got your pieces around you. There is a bright future for this Patriots team, but you need your core pieces to stay intact. Judon is one of them. Davon Godchu is another one of those. And if we don't sign the pair of them, with Christian Barmore being out as well, that could be detrimental to our defense. Okay, so there's something that has been bugging me the last day or so, and that is, of course, right, when rookies come into training camp, you're not expecting a lot of them, okay? Quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, tackles, whoever it is that may be, right? They're going to come in, they're going to have teething pains, they're going to have growing pains, and we're not expecting them to be, wow, the next Patrick Mahomes. Not expecting them to do that. We're expecting just to gradually build and build and build. Unfortunately, a certain a Sports Illustrated company, let's just say Boston Sports Media, sorry, they don't understand what the difference is between seeing a rookie come in and actually trying to progress and then thinking he's just going to be a Mac Jones that we saw from last year who just stunk the joint out. Now, Nick, I'm going to need you to take over for the first few minutes while I get this set up. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to come off screen.
Okay, go for it. Right, okay. Something that I was going to talk about towards the end of the pod. In training, they've been wearing these Guardian caps, these sting.
Yeah.
Now, one of the rules that the NFL pushed in this summer that they didn't tell anybody about was that previously you could only wear those Guardian caps in training. they've now allowed a rule to say that you can wear those Guardian caps during a game. I think it's all part of this pushing the safety, pushing the we care about player safety so that they can push to 18 games and then on to 20 by sort of 2029 when the new TV deal runs out. So I think they're sort of like saying, but someone was saying about how these Guardian caps look, and so I don't know whether you've noticed, but the Chargers have started putting a cover on the Guardian caps. And so it looks like a proper helmet. And it just looks like this big bobblehead on a player. But
It's
actually
like them giant baseball caps you see people wearing.
Yeah, and it's like a plastic sleeve that goes over the Guardian cap onto the thing. Like those old school cycling helmets you used to have, where you could change the covers on the in the 90s.
I was going to say one of those swimming shower caps type of thing. No,
effectively, that's what the covers like.
What swimmers use.
Yeah, and so it looks, and it wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing more players wearing, especially the running backs who are going to get hit. It wouldn't surprise me if they start seeing, and then of course what will happen is more and more players will start wearing them, and then the NFL will just make it mandatory that you've got to wear them, and then you're just watching a game of bobbleheads. So.
I don't think it's going to take off at all. I don't think many of them are going to want to wear it in a game. I mean, it just reminded me of like when you were a kid and you learned to ride a bike for the first time and you've got every piece of safety equipment on and the stabilizers. And you look like a right knob with that on your head.
Yeah,
like,
I think like, obviously I've played football growing up, American football, and obviously nowhere near this level. But again, helmets these days go through such rigorous testing. Concussions are going to happen. It's a contact sport. You're going to get. It's inevitable, regardless of what protection you've got on.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So they put like a little.
Looks like a bed sheet.
Yeah.
Pillowcase.
Yeah, like a fitted bed sheet over the helmet.
So
yeah,
I just said I think it's quite interesting to it's quite interesting that the NFL passed that rule quietly. Didn't say a dicky boo. For all this, we care about player safety, and football is family, and family is football, and all this, and player safety is our top priority. The fact that they just sort of like didn't say a word and let that go. And, it's only because I heard it on PFT that I knew about it. And I was like, oh. And then I saw, obviously, the Chargers sleeve. And I was like, oh, I bet you'll see some running backs doing that. Come on, Karl, let's have this rant.
I was going to say, before we get into this rant, you've got some very bleak things pop up on the right-hand side of the screen there.
I did wonder what that was.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to be talking about Boston Sports Media, not Peter.
We are going to
Southport stabbings.
No, we're not. We need to edit that out now. We have to edit that out. Yeah. No, I apologize for that, but there's not a lot I can do with regards to that. They're trending topics.
Yeah, exactly,
really, I'd rather not see it. Thank you very much. Right, so there was a few pieces from the Boston Sports Media which really grinded my gears, and a fair few others as well because it's had over 273,000 views. This one, obviously, it was from NB Sports Boston. So Michael West Holly, who usually does his reactions after the Patriots games and so on, and what's happened in the draft. So this was his captions, okay? So Michael S. Holly on Drake Mayer, day one of padded practice. I saw the ghost of Mac Jones. Not Mac Jones facing off against Tom Brady as a rookie. We're talking Mac Jones in Dallas in that awful game last year. Now, I hope for this plays. If not, this will be all for nothing.
Michael Holly, what'd you see?
Oh, Mike.
Really?
Oh,
really?
Mike.
Oh.
Mike.
Really?
Oh, God.
Really?
God, and I'm the last person in the world who wanted to see what I saw. I wanted to lie to myself today. Listen, I did. Well, I watched Drake May in college. I loved him in college. You guys know that. He was a tremendous college player. At times in North Carolina, people compared him to Justin Herbert. I said, I could see that in North Carolina. People compared him to Josh Allen. I could see that. and North Carolina. Today in Fox.
Right, I'll stop you right there. Right, so he's already mentored the points of he sees bits in Josh Allen. He sees already pieces in Justin Herbert already. So what is he expecting? Is he expecting him to just come out of the gates flying in training camp? Because I'll go back. I will play in a bit. I've got to try and stop and start every now and then. What is he trying to think of for Drake May here? What is he expecting him just to come out the traps completely flying? What are we expecting here?
It's an interesting point you made on Josh Allen just then, because if anyone remembers
Josh
when
Allen
Josh
was
Allen first
terrible.
came in, he was awful when he first came in.
It was terrible. His first year was like his completion percentage was just above, but 50%. I think it was like really, really poor.
It wasn't good. Right. Let's continue a bit more. Let's see what he's got to say. I think this was basically.
Burrow, you know who I saw?
Oh, no.
The ghost of Mac Jones.
No.
I saw the ghost of Mac Jones. Not just Mac Jones, facing off against Tom Brady as a rookie. We're talking about Mac Jones in Dallas in the awful game, that awful beatdown they took at Dallas last year. He was terrible. He was terrible in every sense of the word. He couldn't get anything right. The time.
He's a freaking rookie. What do you expect?
It's the first day of padded practice as well.
It was the first day. It was the first day of padded practice. What are you expecting out of him? What to completely dice up the secondary, completely put Christian Gonzalez on his backside? That's not going to happen. We already knew Jacoby Brissett was going to be in front of the starters, in front of the main receiving core. We knew Drake May was going to be behind the secondary line with the second stringers. What do you expect? He's not going to get the clean coverage that he's going to get for the first offense, is he?
Well, first of all, I think he needs to give his glasses back to Harry Potter and get a new set, because if he thinks that Mac Jones and Drake May are alike, then he needs his head examined, because, Mac Jones is stylistically incredibly different. But you got to remember, Mac Jones come from a very pro-ready system at Alabama, where everything was schemed for him. There was similarities between that offense that he ran under Saban to the one he came into, and he worked with Josh McDaniels, who is one of the best offensive coordinators of the last, generation potentially. He's not worked out as a head coach, but you can't argue that he's one of the best OCs in the game, and he made it easy for him. Now, anyone that's comping Drake May on his first day of padded practice to Mac Jones, just give your head a wobble. That is just insanity.
It is insanity. It's not fair. It's simply not fair on Drake. It really isn't. Right. Let's see what else he got to say.
Times where I was counting in my head, like, got to get rid of it, got rid of it. He's holding on to the ball. When he should have been getting rid of the ball, at times he was running with the football. When he should have been completing easy passes, he was making difficult passes. He was making easy passes look difficult. At times, I thought he really struggled reading defenses. He just couldn't. He wasn't reading it well. It was I don't know what it was. It was really a strangely bad day.
Again, he is a rookie. He's going to have these teething pains. I don't understand why the Boston sports media are actually trying to, trying to make sense whatsoever with this. It's just absolutely. It frustrates the living hell out of me. Hang on.
For him to be this.
I'll move that out of the way.
Michael Holley's an idiot, though. He's always been an idiot. I've got no time for that guy at all. I very rarely see him have anything positive to say about the Patriots.
I liked his book. His Brady and Belichick book. That was actually a good book. I enjoyed that. But that's about the only thing I've read of his, because I find him very preachy, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think
I did enjoy his book.
I think one thing we've got to remember is that the Boston sports media is brutal. Boston is a city that is, it's the city of champions, really. All four sports teams
We're
have
called title
been
now for a reason.
incredibly successful, and there is an expectation to go along with the brash Boston nature that where they want to see the team succeed. And now there are some really good people within the Patriots beat, like that are reliable, good news sources that genuinely care about the team. But one thing that I do find quite a lot, even with the top guys, you're talking about your Currans, your Perrys, your Mike Reese, those kind of guys, is that they'll talk on their podcasts and in their write-ups about, like we're saying on here, May's a rookie, got to give him time, expect the teething problems. He's going to make mistakes, allow him to make mistakes. But then they'll then record a video 10 minutes later and go, oh, rough day. And they're kind of contradicting themselves a little bit. Like, what narrative do you want to follow? I think is the important thing they need to remember. And I'm not going to sit and criticize them because I really like them guys. But if you want Drake May to succeed, you got to try and resist temptation to dig him out for every mistake he makes.
Yeah, you need to. Okay, so this was a little snippet from I think it's Bedard's podcast, Greg Bedard's podcast. This guy, I just generally think he just wants us to suffer. I just generally think he wants us to suffer. The question was, do you think the team was fully prepared for him to be this far behind? Once again, he is a rookie. What
I don't
part of
think
that
he's behind.
I don't think
No.
he's behind. I think, he's a rookie. As I said, teething problems. I sound like we sound like broken records here. We're just saying the same things over and over again.
I mean, who realistically is expecting a 21-year-old rookie who we said has come from a not very pro system in college to come in at 21 years old and be better at reading coverages and playing the QB position as a whole than someone who's been in the league since 2016? It's just not going to happen. So I don't know what they expect.
Right, let's have a listen here, see what he has to say, because I believe it's some more garbage, I believe.
It's far behind. I mean, Mayo came out the very first day of training camp and said, hey, if he lights the world on fire, he could be the guy, sort of giving life to, he's right there. He just has to outperform Jacoby Brissett because they thought maybe that was a possibility. The reps, I don't know what they were today, but up until today, they've been splitting first team reps, right? Like it's a competition and they're side by side. So to listen to you guys, they're not side by side. Do you think the team is a little surprised he's that far away?
What do you think so far of that, guys? In all due honesty.
Well, the rep situation it speaks for itself. They are getting equal reps. I think he's exactly probably where they expect him to be, right?
I think the thing you have to remember these days is it's sensationalism media. It's all about clicks. It's all about getting reactions. You say, you get people saying the most ludicrous things just to get a reaction, and I just think that half the time people say something, they don't even believe it themselves. They're just doing it for a reaction. And I think this is the sort of journalism that you're like, well, really? Is that, So if he honestly thinks like that, and same with Michael Holley, if they honestly think like that, fine. They're entitled to their opinion. I personally think that, it's wrong, but they're entitled to their opinion. But if they're not, and they're just doing it to gauge a reaction, to get us to talk about their reactions and things like that, then, why? What are you getting from it? What do you expect to achieve? Because all you're doing is getting us lads to talk about how much of an idiot you are.
Right. Let's see what Bedard's response is.
Yes, and while he's in a different spot than Mac Jones, Mac, when he came in, it was day after day that he was making gains, and that just continued throughout the summer. Now, granted, it was a different offense. He had Josh McDaniels there.
Okay, stop right there. He's just convoluted himself there. So
he's contradicted it completely.
It's contradicted himself. So he knew Mac Jones when he first came in. He had Josh McDaniels as his OC, a proper prolific offensive coordinator who's had decades of experience, knows how to get the best out of a quarterback. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, spot on.
Right.
And one key factor here, say that he just said that he was making gains every day. Cam Newton was not practicing. He was on the COVID list. So Mac Jones by default was going to be the QB1. Like,
Well done. Well done,
I-
Kieran. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on there.
yeah, I just don't know what to say about these people, honestly.
It's all right. 10 seconds of this trash left, and then we're out of there.
We don't know quite about the coaching, but yeah, I think if you gave those guys truth serum, they would say they're surprised he's so far behind Jacoby at this point.
Shut up, Greg.
What the fucking hell is truth serum?
What's that stuff in Captain? No, what is it? Meet the Fockers, isn't it?
Sodium
Shoved it-
pentanol.
Sodium
liquid
pentanol or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just crap. What I'm hearing, it just
frustrates
is like, what? It's like we're trying. It's a dawn of a new era, a new start for us. You know, we haven't. Yes, okay. When we moved off Brady and then we had Mac Jones, fine. That was a new start. But you kind of tell that we'll find out sooner or later whether or not it was Brady or Belichick that helped coincide and all that. And within about 3 years, you can then tell what the hell was going on. And this is a full start. This is a brand new proper start, brand new regime, brand new everything in place. I'm not expecting this team to make the playoffs. Hell, I'm not even expecting this team to get over 500. I just want to see progress from this team. If you can get I think the maximum for me, if you can get 7 wins, that to me is progress because at least you're going in the right direction. But
anything above 3 wins is progress.
4 wins because we had 4 wins last year.
4, even 4, yeah. 4, yeah. Sorry, me doubting us, but yeah, anything above 4 wins is progress.
And ultimately, going back to the Drake May situation, just Mac Jones had the best part of 3 years as a starter, and then we decided this isn't for us. We're going to move on. You can't really judge until the 3rd year. What the people jumping on his back already is ludicrous because we could be sat here in 3 years' time having had a potentially progressive first year. 3 years down the line, we could be in the playoffs. You know what I mean? In the playoffs.
What's the chances Jacoby Brissett has one really stinking bad game, and then the reaction would be, "Oh, we should now put Drake May in." Hang on, you cussed him out for two
there will
training
be
camps
a clamour for Drake
May.
May. As soon as Jacoby Brissett does anything remotely wrong, there will be a clamour for Drake May. Yep. And Nick's made a really good point earlier in the podcast as well. So Jacoby Brissett hasn't exactly stayed healthy a lot of times throughout his career. So would it really shock you if even if Jacoby's playing well, that he gets knocked out of a game with an injury and suddenly Drake's thrown into the fire? But then he's going to have to deal with that.
Drake May will start this season. I have no doubt about it. Whether it's going to be for a prolonged period, but there will be a time at this season where Drake May is the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots.
Hopefully it's in London.
Hopefully.
Oh, Nick's back.
I'm back.
Okay, cool. Right. I think we sort of covered what we've wanted to cover tonight, guys. Have anyone got any last words before we get on out of here?
Not really.
No, just
nope.
Let's just go be.
Okay.
Let's just go trash Boston sports media some more. I'm sure that'll make us lots of friends.
we'll make friends.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we will.
Who needs friends when you've got enemies like us?
Right, we are going to get on out of it, guys. Thank you so much all for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you've been listening to us on Spotify, make sure you smash the like button on your way out. You hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Follow the podcast. We will be back next week because we will be gearing up for our first preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, it is the Eagles we're playing in preseason week 1, isn't it?
Hold on, I've got it in my
There's a joint practice, isn't there, with them?
There's a joint practice with the Eagles. Yeah, that'll be fun. That will be fun. And all that. Plus also, a little bit more updates on training camp as well. If we get any breaking news come through, that Godshoe has signed a new contract or Judon has re-signed a new contract, then we will keep you up to date on YouTube and on our social media sites. But for now, we're going out of here. Thank you to Nick. Thank you to Kieran. Thank you to Joe. And as always, go Patriots and Boston Media, you can fuck off.